The Leprechaun's back, and he's hunting his bride. But how will he feel when that wish is denied? So Leprechaun 2 tells the story of the leprechaun trying to secure his bride. Welcome back to the Leprechaun review series, everybody. If you're watching this for the first time and did not catch my review of the original film, go and check that out and come back and follow along with this review series. We're going to be going on through the entire Leprechaun franchise, going up to St. Paddy's Day, which I will end in a ranking. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're brand new to this channel so that you do not miss out on the fun. Now, Leprechaun 2 is a movie that I have not seen since I was a kid. This is one of those Leprechaun sequels that I do remember renting once or twice from the video store. Leprechaun was one of those franchises that I have those Blockbuster family video memories with. But I have almost no memory of this film when I'm walking into it for this first rewatch. And I understand why, because it's not a very memorable movie. But before we get into all the reasons why, let me talk about the positives for Leprechaun 2, because there are a couple. I'm not quite at the miserable stage of this franchise yet. Leprechaun 2 starts off with a kind of a flashback, or back in the olden times, back in actual Ireland, where the leprechaun has this guy as a slave. There's like this cursed little locket or this little collar around his neck, and he has to do everything that the leprechaun says. And this whole backstory about trying to find his bride, I actually thought was interesting. I liked seeing it in Ireland, even though it's not like exploring the motherland. It's just talking about a couple of scenes in the woods. But you know, the aesthetic was there enough. And I like the fact that he kind of pulled a ruse on this guy and was like, all right, you get me my bride and I'll let you go. Yes, sire. And then he finds out it's his daughter and he's like, oh, shit. I also like the scene later on in the movie where they kind of pull a fast one on the leprechaun and they challenge him to this drinking game to try to distract him. In the drinking game, the leprechaun's pride won't let him back down, and he just chugs fucking bottles of whiskey until he is drunk and inebriated to the point where he cannot move and they get to run away. I actually thought that was cool. I like how they kind of play into the leprechaun lore in this franchise. I liked it in the first film, and here challenging an old Irishman leprechaun that I will drink you under the table, you little bastard, and him not having the pride to walk away from that. I enjoyed that.
Drink what you want. Drink what you're able. If you're drinking with me, you'll be under the table.
Come on, let's cheer him on. He's one of us. One of us. One of us. One of us. One of us.
And finally, this movie does have one great kill. There's a kill where a guy is basically charmed by the leprechaun to think that he is about to put his face into a big old pair of titties. And that pair of titties is a big old lawnmower. And it's funny the way that the scene kind of plays out because it's so cheap and corny, like a bad porno movie where the main girl, and it's probably a body double, is just like slowly peeling back these clothes minutes after she told this guy to fuck off. And he's just totally enamored, like, whoa, what's going on here? And then he's just holding her and looking up at him and figuring out what's he gonna do. And then it cuts to him and there's a fucking lawnmower that's just vertical with fan blades sitting there. And he's like, right in front of it. I got a good laugh out of that. It's a good kill. It's not overly gory. It's more about what you don't see, but just the whole setup I thought was entertainment. That's that little balance that the leprechaun has with humor and slashing.
Kiss me. I'm Irish.
Aside from that, everything else in this movie is pretty terrible. The acting, the characters are really bad. I mean, as soon as it started, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is a huge downgrade from the first one. I hope some of these sequels that I remember liking, I'm still gonna like, because woof. I mean, your two leads are the descendant of his slave back in Ireland, which is his bride-to-be that he is hunting the whole movie, and her boyfriend, which, you know, they start off with this rocky relationship where she's a little frustrated at him, and you just don't care. The whole movie, you do not care. If she ends up being the bride of Leprechaun, you're like, whatever. It's only there to give the guy a motivation to continually screw up the plans of the Leprechaun, but there's no investment there. You don't enjoy him as a character. You don't enjoy her as a character. You could have easily had somebody with a little bit more wit, a little bit more charm, or at least some acting ability, and you could get invested in that whole journey about trying to save her from the Leprechaun's grasp, but you just don't have that. So this quickly turns into one of those slasher sequels where you're only there to see the villain. Beyond that, this movie takes a gigantic shit on continuity, which slasher franchises tend to do this. Lord knows the Friday the 13th franchise never gave a fuck about that. But Leprechaun ends with him being melted and dropped into a well on Jennifer Aniston's farm. This movie makes no mention of any of that. He's just back. There's no explanation of timeline, if this is actually a prequel or a sequel. Like, there's a point where he talks about his age, where he's over 1,000 years old, and I'm quite sure in the first movie he said he was only 600 years old, so either they didn't watch the first movie, didn't care, or just didn't bother themselves with putting any effort whatsoever into the script. And when you have a franchise that has got, like, what, 6 more films left, when you're already shitting on continuity at 2, that's a problem. The pacing's also a bit of an issue for this movie. I actually started to fall asleep at one point and had to kind of wake myself up and turn it back. It didn't move at a good enough clip. Like, the first one actually had a pretty decent amount of pacing. This one just felt like it meandered too much. Way too many sequences of people just sitting down just to have some exposition dump, just to stand right back up again and get back into the movie's plot. Too many sequences of people going through the Leprechaun's tunnels and doing the whole Scooby-Doo thing about, I go left, but somehow come back into the right. Holy shit, isn't that scary? No, it's not. It's just weird. It's a movie that doesn't move. And when you have characters that don't interest you, when you have acting that does not engage you, and when, for the exception of one kill, you have a slasher film with pretty weak, mediocre kills that don't really engage you, pacing can drag like a bitch if it is not good. And speaking of that, the kills in this, again, not really all that standout. I like the lawnmower kill for what it does, but there's definitely no carnage candy involved with it. There's no carnage candy involved with any of these movies up to this point. We'll see. I remember 3 being pretty gory, so, you know, fingers crossed that I don't have false memories with that. Even to the point where the makeup in some of these kills are not only not gory, but they're laughably bad. There's a sequence where the Leprechaun's on the street and the dude throws money at him, and just to be a generous person, he's like, you have any gold? And then he, like, just holds out his credit card or something, and it's like, it cuts to his hand, and it's a fake ass hand with a really fake finger. And it just stays on that hand. I mean, it's like this close. It just pauses on that. And you're like, wonder what's gonna happen with that finger, and then the Leprechaun just breaks it apart like fucking Play-Doh, and oh wow, that was bad.
Tim Streeter, United Creative Agency. Call me if you get a showcase.
So overall, guys, forgettable sequel. Not miserable, not absolute garbage, not an embarrassment, but it's definitely a movie that I totally understand why I don't remember hardly anything about this one, but I remember things about the other sequels. It's just forgettable all across the board. One decent kill, a couple of interesting sequences that I got a little bit of a kick out of. Warwick Davis is still good, of course, but everything else just is a giant nosedive from the first movie, which is not a classic by any means. So if you enjoyed the first movie and you want to continue on the jolly green journey of the Leprechaun franchise, especially considering this one doesn't have any concern for continuity, you can pretty much all out skip this one. So what do you guys think about Leprechaun 2? Do you enjoy this film? Is this your favorite Leprechaun? Do you actually think it's better than the first? And how am I gonna like 3? I remember it being good, but I don't remember anything else about it. Leprechaun 2, tell me your thoughts down below in the comments section. Let me know what you think about this one and what you think about the sequels coming up. Give me a little bit of a precursor, a warning for what is to come. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already subscribed to this channel so that you can check out all the rest of these reviews as they drop. It's the best way to check them out. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.